What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review a collaboration mixtape between Yo Gotti and producer Mike Will Made It. Basically this project is called Gotti Made It. And it came out in the late spring of 2017. So the thing about this particular project here is just the fact that Yo Gotti kind of got a resurgence. I mean, he had a number of resurgences. He had one in like the early 2010s with like the mixtape era as far as those pitches going to happen, but he kind of had a bolsterment also in like the mid 2010s when like 2010s trap was starting to dominate with like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter Live, some of those type pitches, some of those type places, TikTok, and like the earlier stages of that, just in the pitch behind it. But this particular album was one of the ones where Yo Gotti started to become more of like a routine kind of cat that was just starting to get hits off of each one of his albums. Now he did have hits on like Live from the Kitchen and Live from the Kitchen from 2012 and I Am from 2013, but some of these were starting to make a lot more noise and pitches like that, especially around on Instagram when he was just starting to become a lot more widespread and pitches like that. It was just kind of where he wasn't necessarily one of the full-blown faces of rap, but he was definitely pretty close just within the pitch behind it. He definitely always had hits on every one of his albums. This was one. In 2016, he got a huge resurgence with like the hit single Down in the DM from 2016, and then he dropped Cocaine Music 9 in 2016, which was kind of where mixtapes were starting to become commercial within the sense. That was kind of amongst the aspect when you had folks like Meek Mill dropping Dream Chasers 4 and like Tinashe dropping like Night Ride, I forget what it's called. She dropped the mixtape in 2016. That was for retail. So folks were starting to drop like retail mixtapes 2015, 2016, happening more often. Wasn't just DAT PIP downloadable free stuff, but Yo Gotti came off a good look with Cocaine Music 9 from late 2016. I reviewed that back in early 2017. So I reviewed most of Yo Gotti's projects between 2006 now and 2017. The only one left I have to get to from like that particular era would just be I Still Am, which I am going to get to down the road as far as that sort of stuff happens. But this particular album has the hit single Rake It Up, which was another large smash for Yo Gotti as far as that particular kind of went. This is a big deal project. This is like a virtual classic here. Pretty notable in like the mid-late 2010s. Pretty notable for like mid-late 2010s traps towards those pitches going to happen. Just as things started to embrace a lot more like the Instagram Live and some of those type fairs, Snapchat, like I was saying. This was in the pitch. Yeah, this whole project produced by Mike Will Made It. Now Mike Will was definitely popping like in like the early mid 2010s. His era was kind of 2013, 2014, 2015 was a good pitch to kind of get him way out in 2017 as he kind of started to phase out of the spotlight by like the late 2010s as far as those pitch can have. But some good type fare. Yeah, like I was saying, virtual classic here. Now the unfortunate thing about this project, there were originally 9 songs on this project, but one of which on the Spotify edition of this album when I was reviewing this project got slashed from this project, and that was unfortunately the single. So Rake It Up was originally the single that bolstered this project back in like the summer of 2017 when this first came out. I don't know when Yo Gotti slashed it from here, but that particular song, Rake It Up, wound up being on his later in 2017 album, I Still Am, which is a good pitch, but I guess it didn't seem to have as much full-blown point to have that single on 2 different albums. It just went with like the bigger albums for us this pitch can happen because I Still Am was actually like the true sequel to The Art of Hustle from 2016. So it's just kind of within the pitch. But this particular project here is still pretty good about it. I kind of look within it within the concept out of 8 songs on this particular project slashing Rake It Up, which if it would have been 9 songs, I would have wound up recommending 8 out of 9. I probably would have given this project like a 10 out of 10, but the concept behind this project, out of the 8 songs that are left, once you slash Rake It Up away from it, I wound up recommending 7 out of 8. So the only song I don't recommend in any fashion on this particular project on either edition is just Letter to the Trap. So I would just say, I mean, even if it doesn't get a 10 out of 10, it's going to basically get like a 9.75 just within the pitch as far as being able to say that's the concept. The viciousness of this product and the display is the how it particularly kind of went is just pretty sheer. It's the aspect Mike Will Made It as a producer. These are some Mike Will Made It as a producer is pretty sheer just in the aspect of being able to nail some of these particular type things and just having the concept of this getting towards like the embrace of just kind of switching. Like Yo Gotti once again had been around since like the, you know, he was there for like the mixtape era and like the DAT PIP days like 2010, 2012, 2014 when mixtapes were downloadable pitches like that. He was also there for like the 2000. I mean, he's basically had albums since the 90s, but it's just the concept that he has had these hits and it's just kind of he's been a product of every single one of these eras just within the pitch behind it. But the thing about Yo Gotti when he drops these projects is he does get hits off every one of his projects. So it kind of feels like he has a second one because there's just eras of people that probably remember him from each one. It's like there's probably folks who remember Yo Gotti from like the days when he was dropping songs like Single and like single, and then that song like that he did, which it might have been My Nigga that he did with, I forget some of the hits off of I Am from 2013, but like that song he did with YG and Jeezy. There's just some ones on there. I don't remember his full blown, but some of those type of hits, some of his hits, like some of his hits from Live from the Kitchen and I Am, and like his mixtape run, like January 10th, like I Got Them Racks and Single, some of those type pitches, and then his hits from like 2000s days, like in like the DJ Drama and Jeezy days, pitches like that. So it's just a variety of these particular ones, but he was a part of like the 2010s trap and like the Instagram era pitches like that, and this is some good type bops. So Rake It Up is the one, but removing the single from this product, there are some casual type bops on here, but it's just a little bit less commercial, I had to say. I don't know if the casual score or the social score will take that much of a toll, because this is pretty boppish on here. Really the only song for the most part that's not meant for like a strip club or something within that relative type fashion, like some turn up for just like Friday night, Thursday night, Saturday night, Friday night, Thursday night, Saturday night type fare would just be Letter to the Trap. But for the most part, this album is just, it's pure shot in the arm of just get turned up for like the wickedness of it, and especially in like a 2010s trap type sense. So just to be able to say, because there's not a single on this product, now I will go ahead and somewhat, I'm not going to have the description for Rake It Up, but just understand that that's a very quality strip club type bop on here to kind of get for like some standard turn up, just a good pitch, like a standard bubbler, and just kind of not necessarily like the most vicious, not quite as vicious as Down in the DM, but definitely one that should get the groove going as far as pitch kind of happen. This bitch is doing like slow twerks as far as those pitch kind of would happen with it. Just kind of like a bubbler, just kind of 7.5, 8 out of 10 in terms of like the vicious kind of energy behind it. But it's just a nice bop to kind of get there. Nicki Minaj on the song, she nails her verse pretty well. It's good, nice one. But without that single, there's just some other quality ones on here. But most of this is just kind of more brewing strip club type energy. Does not have like the vicious kind of overall club blazer of like something like Down in the DM. But that does not mean that this product is spare. It's just kind of the concept of this. Without that particular single, this lacks like something that's going to have kind of like the gab about it, but definitely has some gems on there for just like the commute of it. Just one, just within the concept of having it amongst your pals, knowing that Yo Gotti is dope within the pitch. So, like I was saying, the only song I don't recommend on here is Diss Letter to the Trap. To talk about that one, this is just kind of like an in-between type one, just kind of in a more personable type sense, but it just didn't nail the vibe nearly as full blown. I feel like the production switch up, it just felt a little bit breezier. I mean, I feel like Off the Pole just nailed that vibe a little bit better, even though that's a strip club song for the ladies as far as those pitches kind of happen. Even though Off the Pole is a more romantic strip club type song, I'd say Letter to the Trap is just kind of like a homely type song. Letter to the Trap is just kind of a more personal type sense, just kind of more cruise arounds and just like a kind of seldom type sense, but it just didn't pull out the vibe nearly as well. Just within the tone behind it, just was an aspect that just didn't have the same full blown appeal. But for the most part, this album nails every single bop on here. So like I said, 9.75 out of 10. So just go through the tangent on some of these. Real nice gem on here would be Off the Pole. Like I was saying, it's like a breezier kind of strip club basking kind of get here, just a fizzy but also edgy kind of nightclub outings kind of have within that sense. Basically, just romancing strippers, folks like that, just in the pitch behind it, just kind of Instagram bees, just kind of romancing like strippers, Instagram beesies, pitches like that, folks that are going to be more routinely at like, litty kind of nightclubs, not just, it's kind of women who routinely kind of club pitches like that, not just goes out once a month or once every Friday or every other Friday, but actually folks that are going to be jazzy within the appeal and are constantly kind of within the step out, probably have more than 5 digits of followers on Instagram and places like that. I'd say decent kind of diva miniature female celebrities within the pitch behind it. Just some of those BZ type vibes within the pitch behind it. Look after within the tone. But this is some good the song is definitely some good IG live kind of go-ins around as far as those pitch can happen. Just some good aspects just behind a good song to post up, just kind of an IG story, some of that type fair. Just reeks of like the late 2010s, but still some good aspects because some of this is still relatively litty to these times. Change is a nice one on here. This is like a bass heavy kind of top-notch splitter to kind of get within that tone. Just a very nice secret hit to kind of have within that aspect. Just some murky, it's like some murky kind of marinate in a venue kind of ambience kind of have about this one. Definitely has some good looming feeling about it. So this is just a real thumpish type one. If you take like a song like Rake It Up and then just remove like the quality if you take like a song like Rake It Up and just remove like the vicious kind of commercial hook off that particular one, it's not to say that the song Change doesn't have a vicious hook on there, but just minus like the radio appeal in terms of like the aspect behind it, Change just like a second helping of like Rake It Up just without the supposed radio appeal behind it. It's kind of surprising that Yo Gotti didn't really promote this project as full blown. It's just kind of within the pitch that Rake It Up, between that just being the lone single of this project and then removing it to throw it on like I Still Am, it just kind of feels like, yeah, this is an excellent project here, but I just don't know why it didn't have this is kind of strange that it just didn't have the particular kind of promotion about it to kind of get it more acclaim, and I'd say it was just within the appeal. Look at Me Now is a nice one. It's like a blurry kind of quick times night. Look at Me Now is like a blurry kind of quick times night embrace to kind of get here. It just feels like a Future extra kind of cut to kind of get within that tone. Just something that Future would do. Just a spare type cut off of like Dirty Sprite 2 or E-Ball or Future Hendrix, one of those type ones in particular. It just feels like vintage kind of 2010s trap. Just kind of snappiness about it just within the tone behind it. Just feels like one of those type ones where you're just forgetting the times just because things are happening just at such a pace just within the tone behind it. Just real, just consistent. Feels like a mixtape cut. Just one of those type ones that you'd get probably produced by like 808 Mafia, TM1. I forget, TM88, one of those type, just folks like that, Metro Boomin, some of those type folks that just tear through some of these mixtape cuts just in general. So, in a lot of senses, this just feels like a commercial mixtape. This is kind of like a street album here, just in the pitch behind it. Just feels like a stock kind of mixtape, kind of similar to Cocaine Music 9, I'd have to say, within those pitches. Just some good aspects to kind of get some of these as far as like these cuts of just getting like mixtape quality stuff, and especially without the single, you would say that this is just basically like a street album, but it has the appeal behind it, just kind of within the aspect that it's just that the newer edition just doesn't have Rake It Up on there as far as this pitch can happen. But actually, I want to say that I'm not sure if this particular album came out on CD. This might be a digital download only as far as this pitch can happen. I just look after it, but still excellent on here. Like I said, 9.75. I look within the tone. So Dog is a nice one as well. It's like a good follow-up kind of buzz to Rake It Up. Dog is like a good follow-up buzz to Rake It Up. I would definitely have to say just a bopping kind of throw money, kind of percolate heater, kind of get here. Probably could have been like pretty decent. Like I feel like Change and Dog are like the two ones that probably could have had the aspects of just being able to have like some follow-up moments, just for like some extra kind of moments, just continuing the viciousness. And I'd say there's like some basic kind of strip club snaz kind of get here just from the aspect, just some marinate for that sort of pitch. Just if you like songs like Down in the DM and Rake It Up by Yo Gotti, but you want some immediate type ones. I do feel like in terms of some of that, I mean, this album just has the quality on here in spades as far as this pitch can happen. But in terms of like the casual boundedness, I'd probably say the second most casual song on here after Rake It Up, just getting whatever edition, if you get the one with it or without it, say probably Change is probably the most notable. Now there are some folks, like 2 ones on here that have like the most attention. Like according to Spotify, the 2 songs that have the most popularity would be Legacy and Dog. But I look after it, I would say Change just has a little bit more bass kind of murkiness that makes that one a little bit more affable. Dog is definitely kind of a nice one. But yeah, Legacy is just kind of like a stunt and flex type cruise around as far as those pitches kind of happen. Let's say Dog is probably the second craziest song on this particular album. That's probably warranted as like the second most popular song on this project. But I'd say Change just probably has a little bit better ambience about it. But it's either Dog or Change that would be probably the second most immediate, second and third most immediate ones to go for on here, just to say some of those type pitches. But Trap Go Hard's another excellent one as well. I'd say it's like a stock kind of mid 2010s trap burn up to kind of get here. It's a nice brewer. I would definitely feel like some evening slag and like a good night kind of rise and shine, kind of get within that pitch. So if you're waking up 6:37 p.m., especially in like the autumn or winter when the sun sets sooner, it's just within the pitch, kind of get towards it, just hop towards like the night appeal and just be like some night owl type fare just in the pitch behind it. Good type tone to be able to have within that aspect, just some good type fares for that. So I would say Trap Go Hard is probably the closest thing to makeshift on this particular product. Just the concept of just kind of that excitement. If it is like 5:45, something like that, and you're just getting done with work, some of those type pitches, you got some food in the car, just figuring out what to do as you realize, all right, it's time to get turned up as far as those pitches kind of happen. Put the lokes on, some pitches like that, figure out how those pitches are going to go just with like the turn up, but just getting ready to step out and get crunk as far as those things kind of happen just within step out and get crunk as far as those pitches will kind of happen just within the night embrace. So it's good type tone for that. Definitely some good, once again, definitely some excellent kind of night rise and shine kind of have for that concept of just switching to flip mode. Good type tone for that. Thinking About You is a quality one as well. It's like a darker kind of deep ruminate, I'd have to say about this song. Definitely some brooding, kind of like some murky extra time dredge kind of have within that aspect. It's a good album cut, I would feel like here, and it's just overall some spare moments off this particular song. Good type concept here to have Yo Gotti have some of these type moments, just some good songwriting just within pitch, extra type fare, not necessarily like a strip club song, not a makeshift song, not like a flex or lady song, some pitches like that, just kind of extra moments. Just thinking about the tone of just contemplation, things like that, just a more personal type one that works. This is the better variation of a song like Letter to the Trap, I'd have to say. I mean, it's kind of, I realize that there's an aspect of not always kind of being in like such a contemplative type mode, but this is just an aspect of a song that nails that particular vibe and just has like a good characteristic on this particular song. It's in the pitch behind it. I mean, Yo Gotti does brood at times. I mean, he may not be with like the commonplace aspects of someone like Tech Nine, Hobson, or Eminem, some of those type folks, but he does have some of those type moments. It's a good type pitch, kind of have some of that. This would be another one that's kind of like some good makeshift commerce to kind of get here within a relative aspect. Just paying some simple bills, pitches like that, get some KFC, some of those type moments. I'd have to say it's a good type tone. And then Legacy is a quality one. This is a good stunt type song, kind of have this like a vintage kind of 2010s trap cruise out to kind of have here. Just definitely reminds of Future. Definitely reminds of Future, Travis Scott, Young Thug, some of those type folks. It's like basic kind of flex music. I feel like this should feel like a very vanilla kind of late 2010s, mid 2010s trap song kind of get. This contemplative kind of dark after hours slide kind of get here, and this is just good for some goodies. Pick up like some lighters, get some swishers, some of that type fare, get some donuts, get some beer, pitches like that, some of that type fare, figuring out. I mean, this within the pitch, this is typical kind of romping type music, this within a 2010s trap type fare. This is just like typical kind of romping type music, this within 2010s trap type fare. I'd have to say just within the pitch behind it. Definitely good type fare just for like some commerce just within the pitch behind it. I mean, this one, kind of within the aspect of just getting basic Aaron Dunn's this within the tone behind it. Not necessarily like a feral type song, but just within the pitch, it just feel good just in the pitch behind it. Pretty much like a good one to go along with like Trap Go Hard and Thinking About You, some of those type ones. Just that brooding type aspect that Future and some of those type folks are as good at. Just like the commerce of this. Vehicle bound, good vehicle companion type music to kind of have for some, just to get some stuff done, figure out and situate, get some goodies pitches like that within those tones that I say. Just relative wrap, makeshift wrap up within a pitch of switching to like getting some turn up going. So it's kind of happens to be the aspect behind it. So that's the tone as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. So yeah, once again, this is the tone. This album gets a 9.75 out of 10. The social score, I'll probably give the social score with the single on there, Rake It Up. But the thing about it is if you get the album I Still Am, that was kind of like the main single off of that particular project. So I don't know how many other singles that I Still Am from 2017 had. I actually own that album, but I don't remember the other singles off that project. So I think that might have been the lead single, and I don't know if the second single off that album would have made as much damage. So just to be able to say the social score on this particular project, just without the single that got taken to the other album, I would say probably I'd give the social score maybe like a 9 out of 10, 9 or a 9.25, because the quality is vicious on here. It's just within the aspect that it is kind of more in like hardcore type territory where it is popping, definitely has those social casual type vibes, some strip club ambience definitely within pitches like that, just without like the casual radio snap of something that's recognizable just within the pitch. I'll say the social score is like a 9.25 because it's definitely worth embracing. It does have some makeshift type moments within the sense of just wrapping things up, some cruise arounds. It's like getting like KFC, getting like Burger King, something like that at like 6:45 pitches like that, figuring out what's going to happen, getting some lighters, donuts, some of those type things just within the tone behind it. Gas station runs, some of those type pitches. Standard type fare for some of that, but just kind of within the pitch that Yo Gotti, like I was saying, he does have relative commercial aspects about him, but he typically does not commonly get to like the third or fourth single to where he'd be more in like household name type territory like folks like Future, Drake, and Travis Scott, some of those type folks that I say. So it's just within the pitch, he's just the more notable in terms of like 2010s trap. He's definitely notable, but it's just kind of within relative hardcore. So it's just within the pitch. But yeah, so in terms of the future, like Yo Gotti did drop a mixtape with DJ Drama in like the summer of 2023, and he has like a label now where he's hosted some artists kind of similar to like Gucci Mane, what he's been up to, just kind of within the pitch behind it. But yeah, I'm eventually going to review like I Still Am from 2017, get to some more of these. But Yo Gotti hasn't dropped as many albums as he did back in the 2010s and 2000s and further, as far as those pitch can happen. But some excellent type fare, virtual classic here. It's unfortunate that it doesn't have the single or more promotion, but within the aspect, still some excellence. Mike Will made it, did some vicious type productions on here, and this is definitely some good, just nightlife kind of embrace.